I can't imagine any natural progression where you get to Lou Reed. He seems to be outside of progressions. He doesn't fit any box. He says in a television interview I saw of him that he hates authority, he hates belonging, he hates, in other words, that's what makes him a rock and roller. And I think that's right. He is a rock and roll person at his core. It's quite interesting when I do the posters for these talks. It's a strong tendency to go for the legend or the iconography of the legend. For example, Debbie Harry clearly you see as Blondie, so that's what you wanted to look like. Yoko Ono, big glasses, so impenetrable long hair, and Patti Smith, probably the cover of Horses, but certainly that kind of wild, slightly unkempt look. With Lou Reed, you'd automatically go to Transformer, where he's a man on one side and a woman on the other. Apart from anything else that he wouldn't want you to do that. It doesn't really sum him up either in a strange way now. So actually I cut his face in half and I just showed that much of him, and there hasn't been a single person who didn't know who it was. Now that's fame of a very strange sort. There's a kind of dour, introverted, powerful, mean in some senses, but very focused view that's held just in that. And if I'd done that, I'd have had the same thing. So it shows he's unique. I think that the image of a person in the music business is more durable than almost any other photographic image of a person. Having said that, George Bernard Shaw's got a beard, Shakespeare's got a bald pate and stuff, but something about the music depth keeps in your mind an image of that person and keeps them constant. And I think if you regarded them as a brand, I can't think of a single brand that's lasted 40 years as if you take Bowie, who's been through many different incarnations, and indeed Lou Reed has been through many different incarnations, there is a central persona that lasts and endures, not just in how they're visually represented, but in their attack, in their the way they approach, the incredibly perfect and obsessive way they approach their art. And I think in many ways that's what we're always looking to attain in advertising, and fall miserably short of it. It's very, very difficult to do that, and I think that's the nature of the commodity brand. I don't think I've ever been successful personally in creating the... You could take an example, say for example the Duracell bunny. I mean, it's a rather facetious example in the light of the conversation, but that has created something that is literally an icon. You could draw it in an iconic form and it would mean durability. Well, it's a strange thing when you think of it. A little drumming bunny has become the symbol of something that lasts. But they've been consistent in it, and it's an unusual... It was an arresting image when they started. They didn't have a greyhound, they didn't have a cheetah, they didn't have a whale, the longest lasting mammal. They had a drumming bunny. And in many senses, drumming bunnies are what we have in the music world. They arrest you, they get your attention, and they stay with their key and the kernel of what they are. On the way here, I mean, I've lived in America for the last 10 years, and I usually fly British Airways. I certainly do in Europe. And they're still in the train going out to the pod. They still play Lakme, which is a piece of music by Delebe, which I put on a commercial for British Airways probably 25 years ago. And that has... Now that can stay and is extant because, unlike a visual image, it has no parameters that can date. It was already dated when I chose it. And I think that for that to stay for the many, many years that it has, and to now represent the values of British Airways, Certainly Delibes didn't have that in mind when he wrote the Flower Song. But by extrapolating it and by giving it values in a broadcast sense, it's retained an identity that I now forget I had anything to do with. I just accept, oh yeah, that's the British Airways theme tune. The answer to the question, how much money did it make me personally, is nil. That's the whole thing about it. There's an argument in the music business that artists have not retained their rights. There are many famous cases of managers taking the rights and the performances and the merchandising rights. In advertising, in the early history of advertising, we gave away our intellectual copyright and we've never come back from it. So Delibes owns that piece of music, and probably rightly so. Though I had Malcolm McLaren re-record it, and we've had numbers of people re-recording it, but its essential calm and beauty remain in the Provence within his original singing.